Hey everybody, Joe Joseph here for thedailysheeple.com, and this is your news shot. So, Charles Hugh Smith of twominds.com. Rising social disorder is inevitable, and here's why. He's another guy that says that, the path we're on is unsustainable, and it's going to cause some great pain, which is going to cause some outrage, which is going to lead to social disorder. Imagine that. He says, we are in a very peculiar point in history. On one hand, we're reassured that all is well because every one of the world's biggest economy is now growing. Everybody's feeling good. Yet at the same time, we read that something's very wrong with the global economy. The richest 1% made 82% of global wealth in 2017 and are asked, can the world survive a winner-take-all global economy? Now, even the authors of the rah-rah New York Times piece of the wonderfulness of the global economy expressed concern that this growth may not be disturbed any more equally than the previous 10 years of recovery. We already know absolutely nothing will change because neither the inputs nor the feedback loops in the economy have changed. As Donella Meadows explained in her paper, Leverage Points, places to intervene in a system. The only ways to change a system's output is to change the inputs or add a new feedback loop. See, the status quo has not changed the inputs or added any new feedback loops. So the output of the system, extremes of widening income and wealth inequality, cannot change if you don't. Remember the old thing, cause and effect, right? If the cause is the same, the outcome's probably going to be the same. The effect's going to be the same. So, cause and effect. Keep things the same, they stay the same. Now, since the corporate mainstream media is basically a haven for well-educated, hoity-toity individuals, I'll give you just an example. Anderson Cooper. A lot of people don't know that he's the son of Gloria Vanderbilt. Everybody knows the Vanderbilt money, right? But that's who they are. They're basically these well-educated people with some family wealth, upper middle class social circles, and the media coverage of the slow drip of financial anxiety is sparse. Why? They're making money. They don't care, right? They're not going to upset the apple cart. And why should they? Now, if you talk to people working in the lower pay service sector, you get a snapshot of a great many people living paycheck to paycheck, worrying about any unexpected expense like car repair or dental work, and mundane things that don't vex a protected upper middle class employee like scraping up the cash to buy their child a new pair of shoes for his or her birthday. And if we compare this reality with financiers and the technocrat worker bees skimming millions off of what Adam Taggart calls the river of money, mostly credit, we have to wonder why the U.S. hasn't already exploded in class warfare. Because the fuse is lit. And they've got these fixes like universal basic income that are embraced by the likes of Zuck at Facebook. Don't actually re-enfranchise precariats. They don't offer a real stake in the nation's productive capital. And as a result, they're just Band-Aids on a sucking chest wound. That's a great analogy by Charles Smith. He says, much of my work is focused on explaining the intrinsic realms or the intrinsic limits of the two solutions offered by conventional ideology, think tanks, pundits. He says the market, i.e. the neoliberal fix for everything, and the state, government can fix everything. And our problems are now, of course, exasperated by markets and centralized power. They're not fixed by the state. They can't be because the state's owned by the markets. Now, he says, I've endeavored to lay out a third system that's decentralized, democratic, and not dependent on either the financialized or globalized marketplace or the centralized savior state. He said the core dynamic is the universal opportunity to acquire productive capital in all its forms. He said the core dynamic driving the current extremes of wealth income inequality is the system rewards go almost exclusively to the owners of the capital and those closest to the central bank credit spigots. He's right. He says there are solutions, but they lie beyond the status quo of stale, failed ideologies. Like, for example, I've always said that the root cause of the problem is money. I mean, we can go back and we can look at, oh, yes, well, how do we change this? How do we change that? How do we work this? How do we work that? Let's not forget that in everything we do, people will always find a workaround. So somehow, some way, you got to take that workaround away. You can impose legislation. You can try prohibition. It doesn't matter what it is. Money, my friends, is the root of all this evil. Greed is what drives these people to make 82% of all the wealth generated in 2017. What reason is there? What logical reason is there for Jeff Bezos to have $111 billion in assets? What logical reason of it? More is more? I mean, yeah, I get it. A lot of people will say, wow, what are you, anti-free market? I would be free market if a free market could exist. But unfortunately, it doesn't. And these guys don't play ball fair. And you can't expect human beings, every single one of them, to be men and women of honor. It's just not possible. And as time goes on, we're just not those kind of people anymore. We're not, the human race is, for the most part, forgot what honor is. Oh, there's some people out there that do have it, but very few and far between. This is a hard thing to come to grips with, but it's an even harder thing to solve because people have no frame of reference to a system that doesn't rely on money because money's exist basically since the dawn of time. So then what do we do? I don't have the answers, but I can tell you that's where to start. We have to do away with money and somehow make humanity drive to better humanity. Make that be the driver. I don't know. But make something other than money the driver, because I can tell you, the Trump administration plans to have a debt issuance that is the most since, I want to say 2010, 2011, in and around there. It's been a long time, like 8 years. And the world doesn't have an appetite for our debt. So what that means is, in order for them to have an appetite, you've got to raise interest rates. And the more you raise interest rates, the higher that debt service costs. And the higher the debt service costs, the more of your income taxes and business taxes goes towards servicing the debt. And I believe there was a statistic I saw not too long ago that basically went like this. Over the past 20 years, we've seen, on average, historically low interest rates. But if you average the last 20 years together, they come in on an average of about 5.5%, 5.7%. Now, at that average, if you take the amount of debt just to pay the interest on the debt at 5.7%, would take an amazing 90% of the income tax. 90%. That is unsustainable. And my friends, 5.7% is historically low in the grand scheme of things. I mean, a lot of people don't remember the 1980s, late 70s, 80s. You know, they don't know. They weren't alive then. A lot of millennials. I remember Toyota commercials where, you know, that they were having a Toyota-thon with APRs as low as 19.5%. And that was a deal. That was a deal. 20% was a deal. You know? People are crying now over 3%. What's going to happen when it hits 5? 7? Look at what's going on down in Venezuela. You think that can't come to America? Don't be ignorant. I'm telling you, folks, the economy can turn on a dime. And we have set ourselves up for epic failure. And if we don't make the preparations and do our due diligence, we're going to be caught with our pants down. This isn't a kick the can down the road scenario anymore. This is a serious, this problem has to be fixed and fixed fast. Because if it doesn't, I fear what's happening in Venezuela could very easily happen in America. Only this time, it's not going to be Americans banding together, all flying American flags because we were just attacked or anything else. It's going to be Americans fighting each other because their kids are starving. Because we can't generate enough. Because our production capability has been decimated by years and years of globalism. It's going to take some time to right the ship if we have to fly solo. And we're just not ready for that. So just things to consider and be aware of. Certainly nothing to fear, but be prepared. As any responsible human would do with any sort of responsibilities. And make the best decisions you possibly can. But one thing's for sure, don't think that this can go on ad nauseum, because it can't. And it won't. So we can fix it now, or we can wait till it implodes. Either way is going to be painful and it's going to suck. So stand by. I'm Joe Joseph. This was thedailysheeple.com's News Shot. Feel free to comment below and visit our website at thedailysheeple.com. Hashtag wake the flock up. Have a great day, everybody.